Hello YouTube, welcome back to another Wolf Catchers video. Hope y'all doing great and hope the week's been treating y'all great so far. So just doing a midweek update. It's currently Wednesday, recording this about at 2 o'clock in the morning. We're just looking at some charts and some stuff to go over. So for this video, excuse me, we're going to go take a quick look at the SPY and the QQQs because obviously we know that we had President Trump over the weekend implement that global or blanket tariff. So definitely gonna look at the charts, see how they reacted to that and how they are reacting right now. Then we're gonna dive into NVIDIA. They're reporting earnings today after close. Then we're also gonna look at Micron because sympathetic to NVIDIA. See how they roll out with that, and also Microsoft, as we know, has been beat up because of the software stuff going on, the SaaS apocalypse, what they're calling. And then, what else do I have here? Yeah, so a safe haven I've been looking at is Walmart. It's definitely been a safe haven for a while now. I see a lot of names, a lot of people are fleeing to it. So for the past year, over the past rolling 12 months, it's up almost 30%. And then we're going to close out with Bitcoin looking at that. So it looks like it's been stabilizing a bit. So definitely going to look at the charts and see what that's telling us. So let's go ahead and get this started. So let's go ahead, look at SPY first. Got it up. So this is it on the daily chart. So we definitely see here, still the same story for the most part. It's been trading in a range after hitting that new high. And then for this bar right here, it's kind of mother bar-esque to me. That's what I would like to call it. But you see, we're trading kind of, for the most part, within it. And then this 100-day SMA is acting as support. So that's been pretty good for us here. As of late for the market, showing some stability there in terms of doesn't fall past this for the most part. It should be pretty good. We've had some volatility recently, but nothing too crazy. I think I mentioned in my last video that it would take like some major catalyst to come up. Obviously something that we probably aren't going to know, which is what causes these violent reactions. So yeah, we did see some, again, volatility from the news about the tariffs, but a lot of that was kind of baked in about if the Supreme Court was going to shut it down, rule it as illegal, and this, that, and the other. And obviously Trump reacted to it with his own, the 10%, 15, which escalated to 15%, but that has a cap to, I think it's like 150 days or something that could be in effect. Obviously, he probably has something else under his sleeve too to pull out, but who knows? We'll see when we get there. But in terms of catalysts, that's pretty much so far what has happened. And down the line, we really don't know. Like I said before, it's probably going to be something about with rate cuts or something unexpected with those down the road. But for right now, still holding strong. And then what I want to go ahead and show real quick while I'm here. I know last time I mentioned the fear and greed index, so this is what I was talking about. You can just go to Google, type in fear and greed, and then first link should be this from CNN. So this shows you the fear and greed of the market sentiment, how the market feels right now. So you can see here, we're at fear, 43. This is still a good indicator. 43 isn't too bad for me, but I'm more so high 20s, single digits, teens. That lets you know there's a lot of fear going on in the market. That's going to put you into that extreme fear territory right here. So when you see that going on, it's probably safe to say 90% of the time you can probably say it's a good opportunity to go ahead and try to buy and look for some assets that are on sale on discount. Doesn't always mean that there is, a sale available or there's a discount. So you definitely want to pair this with other stuff. Pair with, the market RSI. Is it oversold? Have you hit our moving averages? Stuff like that. Because I can show you here on this timeline here. Back in November, 2025, we had an extreme fear of 8. But if you could remember back to November, there was really, the market wasn't on sell at that point in time in terms of like a 10% pullback, stuff like that. So, and when you go down, there's a lot of great information here. You got market momentum. So this is just showing that the S&P 500 price being above this orange line, which is the 125-day moving average. And pretty much just saying, it says extreme fear here, but pretty much it's just saying as long as we stay above this line, you should be okay, right? But obviously you can see this orange line has gotten closer and closer, which is making this show extreme fear. Now, we dip below this line, then obviously you're going to probably have some issues going on. But I don't look at it more so as problematic because, again, we focus on long-term investing. We focus on trying to get assets at a good price, discount. Now, if you're retiring, 6 months out, a year from now, and the market crashes on you, obviously that's going to be terrible. But if you're someone with a long-term time horizon, don't need the capital right away. So definitely don't let these short-term swings and volatility bother you. And also, again, with all the noise out there, it probably feels like something's happening. You go on CNN, or my bad, CNBC, Yahoo Finance, they keep talking about this and that. You can call it fear mongering. People are talking about, I'm selling my positions, or I got puts over here. Yes, something could happen. Yes, something could break. It's the market. It's not perfect. It eventually is going to happen. But I'm not going to, if you're a long-term investor, you write it out. Use these as opportunities to go ahead and buy positions and scale into names that you actually like, right? And then let me just show you here. So this is from the last watch list that came out this month for February. The new one's going to be released for March over the weekend. So that's what I mean by the corrections, right? So 10%, I'll usually mark it off here. So S&P, the high for it was 7,002. Correction price, 6,300. So this is just me marking off 10% pullbacks in all these indexes. Saying when those are hit, those are opportunities for you to, especially buy the index, but definitely go shopping for names that you care about and are interested in. Excuse me. Go back to the charts. So yes, that's the S&P 500 or SPY on the daily. You can see here, RSI is at 50, and our MACD definitely showing that downward momentum. Then we go look at the weekly over here. And pretty much these are the same. So you see for the weekly, pretty much just in this range here. See all the way along, almost in a straight line. So definitely range bound. Hasn't really made a decision about where it wants to go yet. If it falls to that 50, that's another sign of, okay, we got something going on here. You're probably going to start seeing the fear, start seeing, everyone freaking out. But the 50, that's a good point for you, especially on the weekly. For an index, that's probably a good opportunity to go ahead and get on that. But RSI still towards the higher point in terms of it's at 59. MACD still showing that crossover to the downside. Then let's go ahead. Quickly look at the Qs. So Qs definitely are giving you a sell on the daily. As you see here that we're trading below the 100. So hit the 100. Now we're firmly trading beneath it. Kind of has its own, again, mother bar like activity here. Stuck inside of it a bit, trading within there. Next price is 584.93. Grounded up 585. But it's a good opportunity to go ahead, scale into it, start building a position. Could fall further. But again, this is on the daily chart, so don't go too crazy with it. RSI is 47, and the MACD, we already had its crossover back here, But then you can see right here, it's beginning to curl up a bit. So obviously I'll wait for it to cross over to the upside before you make any decisions on that. But that curl is a positive sign. Then we got the weekly. Same thing pretty much on the weekly. You see we hit our all-time high way back here in October. So no new all-time highs for the Qs or for the NASDAQ, but definitely been trading in the range for a while. Still above all the moving averages, that's always a good sign. But if it falls to that 566.62 or 567 if you want to round up, definitely a good opportunity for it there. RSI's at 53, and then MACD still showing that crossover to the downside in that histogram. Pretty bright red there, showing that there's some strength behind that move. Let's go over to the next chart here. So obviously we're going to look at NVIDIA because they are reporting today. And the thing is with NVIDIA, as they've done in the past, we already know that they're going to beat earnings, right? We know that they're going to knock it out the park, have a good report, good numbers, like they always do. No surprise, right? The thing is, what I'm looking at is basically their guidance. I don't expect anything bad to be said, right? I don't think there's going to be any hiccups or any, backlog in terms of like, hey, we can't get these Rubens or Blackwell's out fast enough, whatever the case may be. I think it's going to be, they're going to have good guidance, right? And depending on how good that guidance is, will probably be good for the stock, right? Good for them in terms of bringing in that revenue and those obligations. But I think it's just going to put a bigger magnifying glass on the landscape of AI. So in terms of if they're going to be expecting, I don't know, way more money coming in, it's like overwhelmingly number, like or eye-watering number like it was last time. That's going to translate to, some more CapEx spend, right? So then if there's more CapEx spend, these companies that are spending all that money on CapEx are going to continue to start bleeding and continue to start getting sold off because companies like Meta, who announced, hey, we're going to spend more on CapEx, the market didn't reward them for that. Shareholders didn't reward them for that. People sold off their stock because why are you spending more money? That's how they took it as. So if NVIDIA comes out saying that our customers, especially our prime customers, we know who they are. They're the Metas of the world, the Amazon, the Googles of the world. If NVIDIA is saying our forecast down the line is going to be even more than we expected or even more than what we have now, that's meaning these companies are going to be spending more on CapEx, and already they're being punished for that. So it's kind of be like a double-edged sword for the most part. So definitely looking forward to see how that gets portrayed and how that also gets, conveyed to the public, and also how people are going to react to these other names for it, right? So definitely something interesting to keep in mind and to look at. But let's go ahead and look at the chart for NVIDIA. See here, we finally in that range. Was trading it for a while, but now we're above all the moving averages. That could be because we're getting so close. Obviously, we're hours away now from its report. So usually, obviously, when you get into earnings for companies, there's some volatility to it. It usually might be higher, might be lower going into their earnings day. Obviously, when they report after hours, especially something like this, after hours report, we're going to see them probably sharply move to the upside or to the downside. We'll see if it's a gap up or a gap down. Depends on how the market takes the news. But hopefully it does break out of the range it's been stuck into, whether that's to the upside or to the downside. Makes a, strong decision about where it wants to go. But we do here have points, and you see 186.18 was a good buying point. Obviously, we've hit that multiple times, been in that range for it. Next one would have been 173.96. Would have been a good opportunity as well to go ahead and get into that. Obviously, we had it before too. You see with this candle here, we dropped to 171.03. So definitely opportunities all around during this point in time when it's been consolidating like this. RSI is at 58, and MACD is to the upside. Histogram's nice and green. Go ahead to the weekly on it. You're going to see the same thing on the weekly, just range bound. Been in the consolidation, same thing. This looks like it's same thing October. That 50, that 164.36 is a good opportunity for it right there. RSI is at 59, and the MACD still crossed over to the downside, but looks more so like it's flattening, not curling up. So flattening just meaning like momentum being exhausted for the stock right now, but could definitely change after this report. So let's go ahead and see. Hopefully Jensen has some good news for us, especially for his shareholders. I don't directly own it in terms of like what we haven't invested in, but SMH, obviously has a lot of exposure to that. I'm someone that believes in buying the ETF instead of the individual name, but definitely looking forward to see how SMH moves based on what happens with them. And then obviously the next thing that's affected by this is Micron. Micron obviously still on a tear. I think year to date, I think they're up like 40%. And we're heading towards the end of February. So they're knocking it out the park. They're just going crazy. And then you can see that high was reached on January 30th. Kind of hit the brakes a little bit, sold off a bit, but still staying strong, especially above all these moving averages. This is the daily chart. So the daily, I like looking for that 100. So 285.33. Obviously, when you're looking at it up here, 418, like there's no way it's gonna fall to that. Trust me, give stuff enough time. Eventually, it's going to fall to its 100-day moving average, or its 100 weekly moving average, whatever it is. 200. It's just a matter of time, right? Not saying, because remember these are moving averages, so over time that 285 could become a 291, 297, right? It's going to move up with the price, because eventually this is going to need to stop going up. This is going to either catch up to it, or this is going to fall down to it. So that's usually how it works. And when those two things meet, the 100 meets the actual price of where it's currently at, or the price meets the 100 where the 100's at. That's your opportunity, right? And then further on, you got your 200, which is my purple right here. Then you got your 253, which is my gray here. And then you got your 400, right? So eventually, with enough time, it's just about having patience for it to fall down to these, right? So obviously, it's damn near parabolic, this stock, how it's been running, right? So then we got the RSI, it's at 58. MACD, for the most part, pretty flat. But again, see that crossover to the downside. And then now it's flattening out. So there you go on the weekly. That's the parabolic I was talking about. It's just shooting straight up. So same thing for here. It's even worse to look at. So 190.32 for the 50. And me personally, I like the 100 on weeklies as well. So 148.87. Again, price is 418. So you're like, oh my gosh, it's probably never going to happen. But again, you have these factors where it's been running so high for so long. Eventually it has to pull back, right? Then you got stuff like the RSI. It's at 79. Eventually it has to cool off. Then you got the MACD, right? MACD definitely was strong. We see how the histogram started fading out. So that means it's just the momentum behind it is weakening, right? Not saying this is going to cross over to the downside, but it looks like it's eventually going to flatten out. And if it does cross over to the downside, you look at it as opportunity for you, especially when you go onto the daily chart. Look at it as an opportunity for you, especially if it's a name you like, something that you're interested in, right? And again, this is sympathetic to NVIDIA's earnings because we know Micron is the high bandwidth memory. They're providing the memory chips for all these data centers, for all these clients, and then AI needs memory, right? So they're a good name to look at. And then the other name was SanDisk to look at as well. I'm not going to pull that chart up, but they're another memory player in the space that's been doing pretty damn good. So we're going to go look at Microsoft really quickly, because Microsoft has been suffering greatly due to all this software being eaten by AI noise, pretty much. So then, let me do another zoom. You can see here, it's pretty much in no man's land with how much it's fallen. So my 400 is kind of like my last line of defense over here. And you can see it's definitely well below that. So on the daily, I'm not going to be looking for any entries, I would say. For if I was personally going to be the one buying, my last entry would have been here. That let me see if I can see it pop up on the other side. 450, so 451 would have been like on the daily. Would have been like, okay, here's my capital I'm putting towards it. But again, so let me just look at it before I go over there. RSI, oversold, we're at 31, pretty much oversold. MACD, flat. You know, this looks like it's still going down, but momentum in terms of selling pressure is pretty much flat, right? For that, and also we reached the oversold area. This looks more like a good buying opportunity in terms of like you probably reached the lowest point, right? But again, you always want to have caution with this. You never want to say the bottom is in. I would rather, be the one who probably bought at the 400 or a little lower than that, than be the guy who's waiting all the way for the perfect bottom, right? To go ahead and get in. But you do that, it's probably already going to rock it up and start rallying. And it's going to get to the point where you should have bought it at anyways. So don't wait to try to time the bottom. Just try to time the opportunities in terms of the moving averages. And obviously using your indicators to show you what's a good opportunity. So something like this. So this is our weekly. So 100 would have been your first opportunity to go ahead and get in on there. Then we're at the 200, right? We're hovering right above it. Stock price right now is 389. 200 is 375, right? So that's a $14 difference. I'm not gonna be mad at someone if they're like, hey, I'm $14 away. Let me go ahead and just go get this, right? Wouldn't be mad at that person for doing that. So you gotta have some grace with yourself and some flexibility as well, especially if you're allocating capital slowly, right? Like for my son and for my siblings, they got some Microsoft, and I think I bought it probably around the 390-ish area, probably, or maybe at 400 I bought it. Because I was like, it hit a good point. I like to sell for it. And also Microsoft too, percentage wise, I think it's down over 20% from its all-time high. So that's obviously another sign for me as well to go ahead and purchase that stock. But yeah, 200, it's a good opportunity to wait for that to go. RSI, same thing. Can't even see it. It's below 30. It's like 28, 29. No, maybe 25. And then MACD, right? Already had its crossover way over here, but definitely pushed down strongly. Fading a little bit on the histogram, but that spread between the zero and the signal, or between the the red and the green. That spread is pretty wide, right? So one of them obviously has to catch up to the other one before this kind of cools off and stabilizes a bit. But definitely a strong sell-off to the downside. So all these factors, what I see here playing off each other, that just screams opportunity for me in terms of, hey, go ahead and buy that. It's a quality name. We do know that it's an enterprise business. I'm not going to say it's too big to fail. We never want to try to say that. But it's one of those companies that is so integrated in our everyday lives, in businesses across the globe. It's going to cost too much to try to replace it with something else. And if you were to replace it with something else, what is it going to be? So it's suffering greatly because of the AI stuff that, Cloud came out with the whole Cloud co-work, all that other stuff. But is that really going to replace this, Microsoft, on a global scale? Probably not. At least not anytime soon, right? So the sell-off in the name is something that you should definitely look into and take advantage of. And in stories like this, where it's like, these are opportunities being created by the market and it's being handed to you for you to go ahead and take advantage of. So let's go ahead and look into the safe haven that I said over the past year is up about 30%. And that's Walmart. So Walmart, obviously we all know Walmart. We all shop there. So we all looking for great prices and also, especially in today's economy, looking to save money. So Walmart recently again just hit an all-time high. And then see it's still holding pretty strong. We did have that selling off, but it's still holding above all these moving averages. Last time we got this close right around here, as it showed on the 20th, was way back here. And that was January 8th of this year. So still staying strong above all the moving averages. For this on the daily, 112.56. Good entry to start scaling into it. RSI's at 55. MACD had its crossover here to the downside. Looks like it's kind of flattening here a bit, because obviously we had those two last trading sessions, green candles, buyers came in and stepped in to stop it from falling. But so far, Walmart's still looking pretty good on the daily. Go ahead and look at the weekly for it. Weekly. So definitely still strong, but we do see these candles here, right? So I know we're midweek here, but we open up inside of this candle. So let's see if we stay stuck in here. It's gonna be a pretty strong move throughout the week to either break above this, which it probably isn't going to, because this last thing here, that was its earnings report, was its catalyst here. So future catalyst is probably not gonna have anything anytime soon, obviously, until we get to the next earnings report in May 14th. So probably gonna be stuck inside here, or it's gonna push more downward, not more down to the downside. So, because that was his opportunity on that earnings week to break. It hit a new all-time high that week, but then obviously sellers won out on that week. And this right here is open up inside of it. So we'll see how it reacts further on. This is in the mother bar, but usually I look at it when something opens up, especially depending on the size of the bar. If another bar, the next one opens up inside of it, I look at it as something that's probably going to be stuck in there for a while, but obviously depends on the length of the bar. But still strong above all moving averages. 100, we're looking at 91.57 for an entry there if it falls to it. You never know, but Definitely has a ways to go if it was to fall to it, but don't look at it as likely to happen due to obviously the environment we're in and also the scare around tech right now. The Walmart's one of those consumer staples that can kind of give you, I want to say growth-like returns, but it could give you that, more than 10% a year return without you having too much volatility. You know what to expect from it. You know what it's going to do. It's not going to give you too much uncertainty. So, especially in this day and age, how the market kind of feels uncertain around the AI bubble and speculation, this is definitely a name that you can hold on to, go to sleep, wake up the next day, everything's still fine. It's this in a name like Costco as well. So RSI still kind of near the highs. It's not overbought, but still near there. It's at 63. And we got our MACD still crossed over to the upside, but it looks like it's flattening as well a bit. So that is Walmart. And then we're going to close it out with our best friend here, Bitcoin. So definitely happy y'all seeing that it looked like it finally fell out. So I gotta show that chart where it looks like it finally stopped. So you can see here, Bitcoin obviously super sell off, been selling off for a long time. We know this. It's been showing basically if you had it for the past year, you're underwater on it, you're negative. But what's been very interesting here is you can see all these shorter moving averages, right? So green is my 50, blue's my 72, red's my 100. They're all crossed over the longer moving averages. That is not a good sign at all. 50 crossing the 200, we know that's the death cross. But now we had the 50 cross the 400. We had the 72 cross the 400. The 100 is approaching to cross the 400. And after that, obviously, it's going to be the 253, 200. Those are going to be the ones that's going to come next. So if it continues going down this path, long term is not looking good in terms of selling pressure to the downside, right? But all these shorter term moving averages crossing downward on our longer terms, right? So hopefully it stops, stabilizes a bit, but obviously we're gonna go look further into the higher time frames to see what they're telling us. But definitely was oversold for a while here, right? Strong period of time. This is a couple trading sessions here. Day she was sold off. MACD finally flattened out and showing very weak here. Showing that it's very weak here in terms of momentum. So it looks like it's stalled out. But again, can that pick back up? Is there gonna be anything else that triggers it? Because we know we have those liquidation events and margin calls. When it falls to a certain price, people have to it creates forced selling. So that's probably what was all here and obviously all back here that took us down to the 400, right? So we'll see how it plays out later on. But again, if you're that guy who bought at 125, damn, that is a drop. And then, so this is it on the weekly. So we're right above the 200. So the 200 weekly is the 59,574. So we're right above that. And it looks like, again, it's stocked out there for right now. Obviously, time will tell. RSI, oversold, under 30. MACD, still strong to the downside. And then, for this one, I like going out on the quarterly to show. Because again, I know we talked about this one a couple of videos back. So this was the quarterly. So this is where it looks like it's stalled out so far, right? We still got next month to finish out the quarter, but it looks like it's stalled out at the opening of this candle. So this candle opened up at 63,930. This candle so far, obviously you can get all the way to the low. You count a little bit of that wick there. So for the low, 62,850. So we're right around, basically, this was pretty much acting as, I guess you could say, as line of support. This candle was. But this candle at the low of it is 58,945. So that's why I mentioned, I think, that number a couple of videos ago. We break past that one because, again, we're trading within this candle right now. So we break past this. Obviously, we're gonna, the next candle hop into is this, because this is just a doji. There's nothing. There's no body here. So break past this. This is just a wick here. Same thing. You can mark it off. But I'm looking at the candles are fully developed. So I'm looking at this candle next. And then the range for this candle is 72,495 on the high, and the low is $38,540. I can't say I don't see it, because obviously no one sees it. No one knows the future. But that would be insane if it was to fall out of this candle and then break this one, which it probably would. If it falls out of this candle, 58,945, the next price is 56,910. And for something that's volatile as Bitcoin, that's not too big of a move. That's another $2,000 it just has to crash out of to fall into this next one. And again, I'm ignoring this doji here. So, yeah, that would be insane if it continues on. But we'll see, because on the quarterly, you can see your RSIs was that at 53. MACD is turning over, and if this crosses over on my red here, crosses to the downside, it's just, yeah, it's gonna be pretty bad. It's gonna be pretty bad. It's not gonna be fun. And I'm talking about like a real crossover, not this crossover here where it crossed and just went flat. I'm talking about a crossover and you can fully see it's actually pointing downward. That's gonna be pretty bad. But we still got the rest of this month and obviously March. Then April, if April could open up inside this candle, that'd be very good. If April opens up in here. If April opens up below this, because right now the low is 62,850. If April opens up below this one, this is what I mean, where it's going to be at the bottom of this wick. It's going to clear that one out, end up in this candle. That'll be fun. But that's something else too for the ETF version FBTC. Now I bought more for my son, bought more for my siblings as well. So those are two buys. I had the Microsoft and that spot Bitcoin ETF that I found as opportunities. So definitely gonna keep my eyes out for more. Y'all should too. Also, don't forget, go to the website, thewealthcatchers.com. And that's all I have for y'all today. So definitely appreciate y'all coming by, spending some time looking at the charts. Don't let the fear, knock you out your position. Focus on your goals, your long-term planning for it. You know why you're investing, why you're doing this. You know your future goals for your money, what you want it to do for you, and for the future you and the old you. So be wise with it. Don't let the market scare you. Don't let the talking heads on the platforms scare you and all that. Trust in your investment plan. Trust in yourself. And again, appreciate y'all stopping by. Don't forget to go to the website. Watchlist is coming out this weekend for the prices. And I appreciate y'all. Don't forget to catch and secure your wealth. And again, comment, subscribe, and leave a like on the video if you enjoyed the topics today. Y'all have a great one.